You don't need confidence. Confidence is spelled Practise. Practice. If I spelt that right, that's how confident. That's how confident is spelled. You don't need this because what is confidence? Where is it? Can you buy it? Can you smell it? Can you hold it? It's just something we've been told that we need to do a thing because in this day and age, nobody wants to do the prep.
Hi everyone. Today I'm joined by Paul Wilson, advanced conversational hypnotherapist, coach, and speaker who helps ambitious business owners and executives break destructive habits like procrastination, perfectionism, and imposter syndrome without months of talk therapy. He works with founders who know what to do but can't seem to do it because mindset is bottlenecking their progress. Paul, thank you so much for joining me today for this great conversation. It's so great to have you.
Thanks, Gabby. I'm really looking forward to the chat today. It's a great topic.
Yes, no, this topic is really, really dear to my heart because this has been a struggle, a big struggle in my entrepreneurship journey. And I just hope that this conversation helps me, but also the rest of the audience that is hearing us. But before we dive into the meat of our conversation, I always like to ask our guests with this first question. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your journey. How did you end up specializing in this hypnotherapy coaching? How did this happen?
Oh, it's a very long story. So I hope you and your audience have time to sit down, get a cup of cocoa, put your feet up and relax. Basically, I spent 25 years in corporate. And in the 25th year, I was getting to the stage where I'm thinking, 25 years is a good number. I'm getting a bit bored. I need to do something different. And so I did what I always do, which was basically no planning, no organization, no research, which please children, don't do this at home. I just quit and went out into the world. Now, originally, I was going to become a photographer because photography is a passion of mine. But after I quit, I went and talked to professional photographers, lots of them that had been in the business like 40, 20, 15 years. And they all said one thing to me. They said, Paul, do you love photography? And I went, yeah. And they all said to me, bar none, don't become a photographer because after about a month, you will hate the sight of a camera. I went, oh, great. Thanks a lot. What am I going to do now? So I bounced around for a while and I'd taken on a personal trainer just to kind of drop a bit of fat because in the corporate world, as you know, it's so easy for donuts and bagels for breakfast and so on. I'd got a bit chunky. So I took on this personal trainer and we were working out one day and he said, did you know, Paul, that me and my wife are both hypnotherapists? And just by chance this weekend, we've got a try before you buy kind of thing coming up. And because you're a client of mine, you can come along for free. So I went, yeah, great, fine, I'm up for that. And so I went on to this weekend. There was me, one other guy and 4 ladies. And I ended up working with this lady who had a fear of snakes and wriggly things. Now, I live in the UK. We have one venomous snake and you got more chance of being struck by lightning and winning the lottery on the same day as actually seeing one of these things. Yeah. Oh. So we did the work and, it went really well. But the very next day she sent me a video, which because her husband, he thought he was Steven Spielberg and videos everything. Anyway, my client in inverted commas and her family are walking through this forest. And you can hear the husband go, careful, darling, look, there's a big worm in front of you. You'll have to kind of take a detour and go around. And she goes, no, it's okay. And she gets on her hands and knees and very, very carefully scoops up this worm and carries it across to a patch of grass. The husband launches a stream of expletives because he can't believe what he's seen and nearly drops his phone. And I'm going, wow, I've got a superpower. So I went back to my personal trainer, found out who trained him, went and worked with him, found out who trained him, and I went all the way up the chain as far as I could. I bought every course, every book, you know the drill, and I just fell in love with hypnotherapy because it's just a fabulously simple way to help people make lifelong, life lasting changes.
Wow, that's so cool. So before you, the only other hypnotherapist I had met was just this one on TV. There's this show that I love. When I was growing up, I love watching. It's called Monk, and so it's about like this guy who was a policeman, and then a terrible experience with his wife. Where she gets killed, and he suffers from like this big trauma, and they're trying to help him. And like I think in one session he goes to a hypnotherapist. That was the closest until I met you. So it's super cool that I have now a friend who's a hypnotherapist, and can make such a big impact. um, because yes, it can be a range of things that you shouldn't live in fear of that. Like there's a solution to that. So I'm glad that you found something else than photography to take up that space after you quit your job.
Yeah, I was so lucky to fall into it because without it, I would have probably ended up going back into the corporate world. So, yeah, I was doubly lucky, really.
No, that's awesome. And so, yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for giving us background about yourself, how you ended up in this, and now really getting into the conversation. So when we were prepping for this episode, um, we were talking about like imposter syndrome, and something that came up is like, so I'm a founder. I'm working on building my own business. There's other founders that are hearing us, and we know we need to do some stuff to get us to the next level. And I was telling you, hey, Paul, like, I know I need to post on LinkedIn. I have my plan, it's all written. Like, I know what to do, I know my metrics, but I was like, Paul, I just can't go in there, write a post, and hit that button. And, that sparked such a great conversation. If we could go dig into that a little bit deeper, because I'm probably not the only one, right? We know what we need to do, but we're always guessing ourselves. Can you walk us through what's actually happening there? And why are people stuck in, waiting for this feeling of maybe confidence before they get started?
Okay, so first thing, planning is procrastination in a suit. We have this desire to do something and we don't do it. And the trick here is to ask yourself, not what am I losing by not doing the thing I want to do, but what am I gaining by
Mm.
not doing the thing? Yeah, because quite often when you ask this reverse question, you get to the real truth. And it could be, well, I'm afraid that the report I have to hand in by Friday won't be good enough. I think that my boss is going to turn me a new one and it's going to be horrendous and embarrassing and I'll feel ashamed. Or I can't go live or I can't post because I'm going to be judged.
Mm.
People are going to, and it makes me smile because when people have never posted before, they think they're going to be judged. And there's like a million people sitting at home doing nothing at all with their lives, waiting for Gabby to put her first post so they can all jump on it and criticize it and critique it minutely. Where the truth of the matter is that if you're lucky and the wind is blowing in the right direction, your mum, your mum's cat, your mum's best friend, budgerigar, will be the ones that see your first few posts or your first few lives. So one of the tricks is just to get over yourself. I'm afraid to say it, people, that they're not waiting for you to post. They're not. And the trouble is that it's a great excuse. Ah, no, 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 I'm going to get judged. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. Well, if you don't do something, you're never going to be ready. And underlying all of this, because I firmly believe that when somebody says they've got a problem with X, that is just a symptom. Like, you know, if you have a cold, Gabby, you have a runny nose, your eyes may itch, you have a sore throat, that kind of thing. They're symptoms of the cold, they're not the illness themselves. So when people say to me, I'm struggling with overwhelm or burnout or procrastination, to me, that is the symptom. And so what I do is I help people dig underneath that to find out what's really going on. And quite often it's anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or, as we discussed before, this thing, confidence, which I think we're going to discuss later on in the conversation. But once you've figured out what it is that's underlying your procrastination or whatever it is, you can then actually work on that and you can say, okay, what is it about posting my first post or working this plan that's so scary? What am I
Mm-hmm.
really afraid of? What's going to happen if I don't post? Will the world end? No. Will a horde of tribes people with spears and axes and machetes come bursting in through my front door and hack me to pieces? Extremely unlikely. Will a superstar TV chef come in and cook you a world famous tasty meal? No. Unless you're married to one, of course. Nothing's going to happen. The thing that will happen is that you'll feel a little bit better. You'll feel happy that you've posted. You might still be shaking in your boots and quaking, but at least you go, you know what? I did it. I posted it. But that little step between doing the planning and, yeah, I know my metrics and I know where I'm posting, I know my subjects, and I've got all my images lined up and I've got my 55,000 quotes lined up and I'm ready to go, but I can't push the button. It's
Yeah.
that little bit there pushing the button, and you just got to ask yourself why I can't.
And I've been guilty of all of that. So, to give more background, so in the past, I remember that. One segment that I work with is like chiropractors, right? That have practices and they're overwhelmed with their operations. And so it was like, okay, from my research, I know that they use Instagram more than Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do 30 posts. So I spent like a whole like 2 weeks preparing them, editing them, and then I only posted like three because I was like so scared. And yeah, as you said, it was probably just procrastinating, like doing the thing. And I was like hiding behind the whole planning my 30 posts before just doing one at a time. Um, and then with LinkedIn, same thing. It's like all about like I guess the mindset shift that needs to happen within you because yeah, when I was talking to you in the LinkedIn conversation, I was like, yeah, I'm procrastinating. Like I just like need to do it. And I did it right after the call, right? And I checked the next day, only three people liked the post and I was like, like he was so right. Like it's not a big deal. Like I was like dying in nerves just for three likes. Like people are just gonna watch it, continue their day. And then it's I was kind of reading where it's kind of your duty, right, with your service. If you have something great, there's people out there that need you. The only way that they're going to find you is by posting content because like I think where I if we dig deeper as to why I get scared, well, yes, one because I'm afraid people are gonna judge me, which I don't know why. And then the two is because like so I have experience in customer success. So I'm still working full time while I grow my business. And my experience comes from being a customer success manager in this early stage startup. But then I'm offering services in operations. And so I'm like, are people gonna think like I'm crazy that I don't know my stuff because I have technically only have experience in CS but not in operations. But then I'm like, well, if they know the early stage startup world, they know that you have to wear many hats when you're in those type of companies. Like I just start talking internally, right? So I think that's imposter syndrome, right? Where I'm not like
Kind of, yeah.
believing in myself, what I can really achieve. I don't know, but anyways, I did it. I did it, and it was not a big deal. So now I'm open to doing more. I just had to do the
Brilliant.
first one.
Well, One thing that helps when I kind of illustrate this to clients is imagine a ladder. Now, you put yourself on that ladder. The ladder represents your experience, your expertise, your knowledge of a particular subject. Now, let's say this ladder is infinite, okay? But you are 6 or 7 steps up from the base, which is fine. Now, there are going to be lots of people above you on that ladder. You're not talking to them. You're not aiming for them. You are wanting to talk to people that are 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 steps below you because they are the ones that need your help. And you just highlighted this, Gabby. I really strongly feel that if you have an inkling, a tip, just a small thing that will help somebody else push the needle forward, you're being selfish by not sharing that. Now, that seems quite cruel, but it's not because we all need help. That's why this ladder is infinite. There are people at all different stages. And all you have to do is find the people that you can see below you on this ladder that you can help pull up to your level as you moving up the ladder as well.
Wow.
Okay. And if you don't do that, then you're going to stay stuck, clinging on tightly to that ladder as if you're afraid of heights, and you never ever move. And then when people do start climbing, they have to climb over you, which means they might fall off the ladder. Whereas if you're constantly moving forward and helping those people below you, the ladder continues a bit like, I'm going to mix my metaphors now, a bit like one of those, what do you call them, escalators, those moving steps. If you ever see somebody that tries to come down one of those, causes a whole massive confusion, everybody falls over. It's the same kind of thing. Now, one of my favorite words, Gabby, is procrasti-working. Procrasti-working. This means that when you do all the things you do that you call working, but you know secretly aren't really working at all. It's not the thing that's going to get you in front of clients. It's not the thing that's going to make you money. It's not the thing that's going to get the thing done. It's tidying your desk. It's adjusting your plan and making your plan really pretty, making sure it's all designed properly and it's got a nice background image and the font's all. It's a plan. Some of the biggest companies on the planet started with a drawing on the back of an envelope. Seriously. Yeah. Two people sitting around having coffee, somebody grabs a napkin or an envelope and they start drawing out an idea. There's the business plan. And they run with it. Yes, of course, later on they formalize it, but they spent literally, coffee time to come up with this plan and then started taking action. Because every time you do procrastinating working, you're doing the one thing. You're stopping yourself from taking action. And that's the biggest blocker because before you take the first step, you haven't taken the first step. Think about that for a second. Before you've taken the first step, you haven't actually taken the first step. And it's that first step that gets you moving forward. The old cliche of a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So how can you start a business? How can you grow a business? How can you become a founder if you don't take that first step, if you don't make that first post, if you don't pick up the phone and call that first person? Now, all of those can be scary, but there are ways to get over that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that that leads me into my next point, right? So I was watching this YouTube short. It was Ali Abdal, and he was talking about like cold emails. Um, and we kind of had this conversation on Wednesday, but so I love Inbound, right, where you create content, people come to you, get attracted. If you have a book, they read your book, then they reach out to you. But like directly reaching out to people, right? I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do cold emails or whatever. But essentially, he was saying like this guy just reached out to him and said, hey, I do writing. Do you need help with this? And he was like, yes, I do. Right. But he had to take that first step, that person sending out that cold email. And then he got this big opportunity. Like it ended up becoming a big opportunity because I think now he manages the whole business for Ali. But it started with that one step. And so for entrepreneurs, regardless of what stage in their business they are, they need I think sometimes you think you need confidence, right? But you really don't. Like, I don't know. It was kind of something like mysterious, but it made sense when we were talking about it. So, okay, if we don't need confidence to start, then what do we need? Because you mentioned in our prep that we need a compelling reason. Anyways, could
Okay,
you dig
let me
into
give you an
that?
example. Let me give you an example before I kind of explain what was really required. Now, some of your founders here may have children, or they will probably know people that have got very, very small children. And babies, they start off being pretty immobile. All they can do is lie on their back, and then over time, they can start crawling around. But what happens one day is they sit next to the sofa and they kind of reach up and start grabbing the edge of the sofa, and they do what I call the sofa walk, hand over hand. They shuffle along on two legs along the sofa. Now, what happens when baby slips and falls on her backside? Yeah, she cries for a minute or two. Maybe mum or dad comes and picks her up, gives her a cuddle, puts her back down again. Now, does baby go, oh God, I'm never going to get this walking lark sorted out? You know what? I'm just going to spend the rest of my life crawling or sitting here until I'm 57 and people can bring me food and bring me a job. I'm just not going to move. That's ridiculous. What does baby do after she stopped crying? She starts again. She
Get back.
pulls herself up and does the sofa walk over and over and over and over again until one day you're sitting there on the phone or watching TV or reading the newspaper, and out of the corner of your eye you see movement. You turn, and there stood in the middle of the room without any furniture is your daughter, walking towards you, very hobbly cobbly, very awkwardly, almost about to fall over, but she's doing it. Did she need confidence? Did she read a book on how to be confident in learning to walk? Did she take courses in confidence? No. She had a compelling reason. And that is she saw mum and dad and brother and sister or grandma, grandpa or whoever walking around on two legs. So she goes, I want some of that. And so she goes through that really long, arduous process. It takes months and months and months of, and here's the word, Gabby, that people don't want to talk about. It takes months and months and months of practice for baby to walk independently without holding on to anything. And this is the thing that people don't want to know about. They want to go onto a stage in front of 10,000 people and not have wobbly knees and not blubber their words around and not be sweating and looking all and feeling all scary and afraid. And they just want to be with zero practice. I need confidence to do this. I want to be able to walk into front of 10,000 people and do my presentation, do it perfectly like Paul McKenna or who's the Christmas song lady? All I want for Christmas is you. Who sings that? Anyway,
I know the song, but I don't know the lady. Let me look it up.
Bruce Springsteen is another one. These people spent years and years and years practicing their craft. They didn't read books on confidence. They didn't do a confidence course. Yeah, they didn't hire a confidence coach. You don't need confidence. Confidence is spelled Practise. Practice. If I spelt that right, that's how confident. That's how confident is spelt. You don't need this because what is confidence? Where is it? Can you buy it? Can you smell it? Can you hold it? It's just something we've been told that we need to do a thing, because in this day and age, nobody wants to do the prep.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, folks, but it is that simple. If you want to do cold calling and you're sitting there going, oh, I wish I had the confidence to cold call, you're never going to, you can read a million books. You can hire the most expensive confidence coach on the planet. No. The only way to get good at making cold calls is to pick up that phone and go, hey, my name is Paul. I want to sell you whatever. And do that minute after minute after minute, day after day after day. And guess what? You wake up one morning and you go, oh, I've got 500 calls to make today. Not a problem. It's practice. Think about when you learn to drive a car. Think about when you learn to ride a bicycle. Think about when you went on your first date. There's a great one. Did you practice with your mum or your dad or your best friend? Okay, I'm going to knock on the front door and I've got the flowers and I've got the thing. And okay, is that okay, mum? Can I practice that 25,000 times? No, what you did, you went out and you muffed it up and maybe she laughed at you or he laughed at you and you never saw them again. But you did it again and you did it again and you did it again. And finally you meet that special person and boom, sorted. It all comes down to practice. And the confidence appears after the practice because you've done it so many times. It becomes ingrained, just like walking is ingrained in all adults that don't have any disabilities. Yeah, we all walk because we've gone through those stages and we don't think about it. I mean, you get up in the morning after a good night's sleep, you don't think, okay, how do I walk again? What do I do? Hang on, give me a second, give me a second. Ah, that's right, I sit myself up and I lean forward. We don't do any of this nonsense because it's ingrained. And this is how you become a great speaker. This is how you become great at sales or whatever your thing is by doing the practice until the day comes when you don't have to think about it. And for me, confidence is that moment when you don't have to think about doing the thing. Yes, you practice your speech, of course. But you don't have to think about, well, I need to stand here, I need to face that way, I need to engage with the audience and all that I need to look at the camera. That just becomes automatic. That's the day you have confidence. Does that
Yeah.
make sense now, yeah?
Yeah, no, I mean it's true. It's like we have it backwards. We have it backwards because we think we need confidence and then we'll be able to do it, but it's actually, you have to do it and then you'll get confidence from that. It's so true. Okay, like I learned how to drive when I was 21 because I was so scared to do it before that, and I was kind of forced because otherwise I was not going to get my internship because they asked for a driver's license. So I had to learn within a month how to drive. And it was so scary because it was like, okay, I had to, like, it was like different things, like the wheel where I was pressing, right? The mirrors, like, it was a lot of things at once. It was like, how do people drive? But after I did it a lot more times with a few errors, thankfully, nothing major happened, right? I got the hang of it. And it kind of also reminds me of a cat. I think someone gave the example. I'm not sure if it was a church or something, but like a cat when it has been mistreated, the tail, or I think it's a dog. Their tail is like all like down. So in order to make them happy again, they tie the tail to, like, I think the collar, and then it's like up. And so by having it like kind of forced up, after a few weeks, once you take the string away, the tail will be automatically up because they did that for a few weeks, right? So I feel like that's kind of me, right? Because I sort of done it with other things, but
I would just pet the dog and love the dog. The tail will come up all by itself, you know. But I was going to ask you a question, Gabby. You said you didn't pass your driving test until you were 21. And in the US, it's mostly 16, I think, when people take their driving test first time. Mostly.
yeah. So most people do get their
Right.
permits when they're 16.
Okay. So my question
Uh,
is, did you live in a big city with lots of access to transport and get yourself around?
no. So what happened? How I got around it was because, well, someone drove me around and then I went to
Someone.
college. And in college, so in Austin, they have one of the best transportation systems.
Okay.
So
So you
I
didn't
was,
actually need to drive then, did you? See, when people learn to drive very young, they have a compelling reason to learn to drive. Either transport is just hopeless and they're having to rely on mum and the taxi of mum and dad or a bicycle, but the compelling reason is freedom and independence. But like in London, I live fairly close to London. London is very dense. They make it very difficult for parking and driving around the town. It's really awkward. So lots and lots of people don't even bother with a driving license because they don't use it. They've got, we've got the metro, the tube, or the subway, and we've got buses and free bicycles and all kinds of stuff. So lots of people now don't actually take their driving test because they don't have the compelling reason anymore. Your cars are expensive to run. You need somewhere to park them, and in London, that's very expensive, so they don't bother. Whereas if you lived in a small town where I am, or even smaller villages, as a young person, you're going to learn to drive very, very quickly because that's the only way you can really gain your independence. So again, it's that compelling reason that pushes us forward.
Yeah, I agree. My two brothers, they got it at 16 because they wanted to drive around.
There you go.
But yeah, it was until I was forced because it was that okay, if you don't get your driver's license, you are not going to get this internship, which was with a great company. And then even if I got the internship, I had no one to drive me over there because it was like 1 hour away. So it was like, I don't know how I have to make this happen.
So
And that's how
there's
I
your
learned
compelling
that much.
reason. Yeah, there was your reason. I have to pass my driving test. Otherwise, I can't get this fantastic internship. Always the
Hmm.
same.
Yep, yep. And for those of you wondering, I have not had a car accident yet. People have hit me, but I haven't hit others. So thankfully, everything is good there. So I guess, Paul, my question comes down to then how do we find that compelling reason? Because I feel sometimes it's kind of unconscious where you don't know that reason. Is there a way to find it?
Absolutely. If you're a founder, ask yourself, why am I a founder? What was my purpose in becoming a founder and quitting my 9 to 5? What was the real reason? Because people say, oh, it's freedom and independence. Not necessarily. Maybe you had a boss that made your life hell. Maybe you had this great idea and nobody would listen to you, and so you wanted to prove this idea, yourself. Maybe you wanted to impress someone. It happens all the time. Not a great reason, but it does happen. There are lots of different reasons why people become founders. Yeah, I don't call myself a founder because it's just me in my business, but I quit my corporate world because I wanted a change. I wanted to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And, because I haven't saved lots of money as a younger person, I still need to work. So I could go and work in the corporate world, but I didn't want that. I wanted to work for me. I didn't want to be given orders anymore. That was a big driver for me. For 25 years, people have said, Paul, go here. Paul, go there. Paul, do this. Paul, talk about that. Whereas now, I work when I want, how I want, where I want. I talk about what I want. I've had some incredible experiences in the past 7, 8 years that I would never have had if I stayed in the corporate world. So there were lots of reasons for me as to my compelling reason. There were lots of them that kind of squished into one main one, which was to do something different and be more independent. But you will find your reason. You just got to ask yourself what it is. It sounds really simple, but again, you see, you have to take the time. If you sit down for 30 seconds and go, why am I doing this? What's my compelling reason? And nothing comes up. And then you go, oh, it didn't work. It won't work. Because again, this isn't about getting an instant result. It's not about getting an instant answer. Now, if you're really lucky, that might happen, but it's unlikely. You've got to set aside time and ask yourself this question, or journaling. Journaling's good. Just ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
why am I doing this? What's my thing? What's my compelling reason? Is it for me, my family, my friends? What? And then find the real reason. Remember, I talked about symptoms in hypnotherapy with
Yeah,
an
yeah.
underlying reason. Quite often, when we say freedom or independence, you've got to dig into that word, because, okay, what does freedom mean to you? What does independence really mean to you? And then just keep drilling down and drilling down. And eventually, you'll come up with something that is, wow, that's why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
goodness. And that will become your driver. And whenever you have a down day or a client says no, whatever, just remind yourself why you started this thing in the first place.
Yeah, this reminds me of the conversation I had with Alessandro. He mentioned, how it's important to have a why because there's going to be ups and downs and it's okay also to refine it. But yeah, like if you can have it somewhere that's visible and that way, regardless of what happens, it's there, you can read it to kind of push you through those through those times, right? And yeah, that why can be different for everyone.
Yeah, I'm not. This is strange. I'm not a big fan of writing things down and put it in front of you because it becomes invisible over time. But if you constantly remind yourself in here, once you found it, because you'll say the same thing differently, and when you say it differently, you'll start to create a brand new neural pathway, and you'll dig that groove like on an old vinyl disc. You'll make that groove deeper and deeper and deeper and more permanent, and it'll instantly jump out at you after a while. So you won't need to write it down as long as you keep reminding yourself. And like you say, when you do have a down day, when a client says no, bang, you know why you're doing it, and it won't be a problem.
Yeah, yeah, and I think some of the people that I look up to for that, like again, for everyone, it's a different reason. But like for example, Elon Musk, he is such a character, but like his why, it's just very easy to understand, right? Like why he built SpaceX, why he is building, why he built Tesla. Like if you look at their mission or whatever, it's just so clear, right? Why they're doing it. So for us, it can be totally something different, but yeah, taking the time to really understand that, it's so critical as a founder. And so, yeah, I think one of my biggest takeaways from talking to you, Paul, is like if you're seeing those symptoms, like for example, imposter syndrome or what's it called? Had a brain fart. Procrastination. It's like, okay, let's analyze what does this really mean? Because there's something deeper. Don't just stay at that. And because I've wasted so much time just staying in that procrastination stage, right? As if I had kind of dug deeper. It's like, okay, let me understand what's really happening and let me get at the core of this.
Yeah, what am I getting out of it?
Yeah.
What's the benefit for me to procrastinate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there always is something.
Yeah.
Well, because it keeps me safe is a big one. It
Mm-hmm.
keeps me safe from judgment or criticism. It keeps me safe from going out into the world. It protects me. It stops
Mm-hmm.
me looking like an idiot. Stops me from embarrassing myself. These are all excuses we make in our heads to stop
Mm-hmm.
doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that means it's worth doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the
Mm-hmm.
important thing to remember, that if you're procrastinating over something, it means it's usually worth doing. You just got to find the thing that's stopping you. What's the hidden benefit?
Mm-hmm.
So what am I getting out of it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's, I mean, here's a classic, and you see this in a lot of movies. A guy likes a girl, and they're working on a project together, but as soon as the project ends, he has to go back to his thing, or she has to go back to her thing, and that's it. They'll never see each other again. So
Mm-hmm.
one of them or both of them start procrastinating, start putting things in the way, sometimes subconsciously, to actually stop the thing from completing. It's a great reason.
Yeah.
It's a really nice, example of why people do things sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Just ask that girl and get it done with.
Yeah, I mean, there's an easier way. Quite often, just ask her. Put yourself out of your misery. The thing is, again, guys will go through all kinds of stupid hoops to avoid just saying, "Look, can we go on a date?"
Mm-hmm.
Because the fear of rejection. The fear of rejection is really important, Gabby, because
Yeah.
if you go back to when we just came out of the trees and we lived in caves, we lived in small communities of around 30 to 50 people, and our lives depended on that community because when we went out to hunt in a group. So had the group protection from predators, from other tribes people. If I fell down and broke my leg, that was probably fatal, but at least they could carry me back to the cave, and one of the old people might care for me. But guess what? If I got rejected, if I got thrown out of that little group, I'd be on my own. And we're pretty
Mm-hmm.
feeble when you compare us to lions and tigers and elephants. So we'd become lunch very quickly for another tribe or a predator. And that, I really believe that that fear of rejection has stayed with us, not because I'm going to get laughed at, but because I'm going to get eaten by a saber-tooth tiger because it's just me and no community around us. And even though we don't live in those communities anymore, I still think that belief, that fear of rejection is a really, really important reason why we fear being judged. We don't want to upset the apple cart. We don't want to get thrown out of the tribe, even though we might not actually be in a tribe, but the feeling's still there.
Yeah, yeah. No, fear of rejection is a real thing.
Yeah.
And you can live it in so many different, like when you're applying to your first job, uh, so many, yeah, when you're moving to a different place, you're trying to enter a new community, different stages. Yeah, I know. And for everyone, you're probably like different, living a different experience. But something here, I hope that it connects with you because I think sometimes we just ignore it, right? We just put it out there, like we don't address it. But I think we need to address it and do something about it if you're struggling with something because there's so much help out there to become a recovered bottleneck regarding mindset.
Well, again, you've got to ask yourself, why am I avoiding dealing with it?
Mm-hmm.
What's the upside and what's the downside? Because then you get to the real truth. Well, I'm avoiding it because I'm embarrassed. I'm avoiding it because I've got nobody I want to talk to. I'm avoiding it because I don't really want to go and see a therapist. I'm
Mm-hmm.
avoiding it because I don't know what to do or how to deal with it, which is a bit of a poor excuse these days, given, chat GPT and the internet. You can get answers to pretty much any question on the planet these days. So ask yourself, what's the upside of not fixing this issue? If you're a guy, you might think, well, guys, tough it out, guys, guys don't do this. No, that's old news. Anybody and everybody can get help if you need it. And there are lots of people out there. I help people, but if you don't like me, there's somebody across the street who will do the same kind of thing. You choose your flavor, like ice cream. You go to an ice cream parlor and there may be 50 different flavors. So you have a scoop of this and a scoop of that and a scoop of that. And that makes up your ice cream. It's the same with people that help you. You might like a guy or a girl or a mixture or, tall, short, black, white, green, orange, purple, Puerto Rican, Australian, American, South African, doesn't matter. There is people out there to suit everybody. But if you do need help, ask.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ask. Yeah, I definitely agree on that. Ask, get help, and there is a solution on the other side. Um, and and so Paul, so what if the audience is hearing us and they say, okay, I get the message, I found my compelling reason, and I'm gonna take action, or I already took action. Um, the reality is that it's going, even when you take action, if you sort of alluded to this, it's going to be messy, right? And a lot of people don't like that messiness, right? So maybe when you first delegate, it's gonna go south, or when you post on LinkedIn, it's gonna flop, right? You're not gonna get the amount of likes and hearts that you expected. How do you help people push through that messy middle?
Okay, you can take this anywhere you like, all right? Do it messy. Literally, you know, just do the thing and forget about what it looks like. Because as we talked about way earlier in this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
people aren't watching your video or your reel or reading your post because it's, professionally put out. It's all sparkly and clean. They're watching you because you have information that they need, and they like you the way you talk. They like the way you present the information. You are 2 steps above the ladder. You're not 25,000 steps, which is the information here is no good to them. They need the information from someone who's just a couple of steps above them.
Mm-hmm.
So just do it messy because there are people out there that need you. And guess what? You'll realize that after a few times of doing it messy, it doesn't really matter. It honestly doesn't matter. And then over time, you'll find one little way of doing it less messy. And then a bit later on, you find another way to tidy things up a little bit. And over time, with that P word again, practice, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you'll
Mm-hmm.
get more proficient, more professional. I hate that word, but anyway, you'll get better at doing it.
Yeah.
So if you're in that messy middle, or if you're just starting out and it feels all messy and you haven't got a website, you don't need a website. A Google Doc will do it. Yeah, a Facebook page will do it. You don't need all the bells and whistles that these people say that you need. You don't need any of it. Yes, over time, you could do yourself a website. Yes, you could get some, professional photography headshots taken and so on. But when you're starting out, just do it messy. Do it with what you've got, because that's where you start. You don't, if you're spending time right now, spending money on a professional website, getting professional headshots, getting all of your ducks lined up, cliche heaven, getting all your ducks in a row, yeah? All you're doing is working, because you don't know if your thing's going to work yet. How many people have you spoken to? How many sales have you made? Because it's the sales you make when you're doing it messy that will tell you whether you've got a thing, whether you enjoy it, whether you can, sell more of it and people actually want it. Because just imagine you spend 50, 60, 70, $100,000 on a coach or several coaches on getting your website done, your headshot, blah, 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 blah. And then nobody wants your thing. How are you
Mm.
going to feel then? It's
Yeah.
best to do it messy with, I think it's called bootstrapping. Best to do it messy, bootstrapped, and find out people don't want it, or do it messy and bootstrapped and find out that people are queuing outside your door, than spending a fortune and finding out that nobody wants it. So just find a way and do it messy. Get somebody to hold your hand. Or here's a super cool tip: find somebody you admire who looks really, really professional. Scroll down all the way down to their first few videos or their first few reels or their first few posts, and you'll see, unless they've deleted them doing it messy. Simple way of doing this: go to YouTube. If you're the person you admire has got a YouTube channel with lots of videos on it, you can scroll from latest to most popular, hit latest, and then just scroll all the way down, and you'll see their first videos. And if they're being honest, and this is really important, if they're being honest, you'll just see how doing it messy looks for your guru, the person that you really admire, because everybody's been there. Nobody starts off as a BBC presenter all bright and shiny and polished. Yeah, nobody starts
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm. It's like,
I think I mentioned it to you before. It's just come back to me.
mhm.
There is a show on Netflix called The Recruit,
Oh
about a
yeah.
guy who gets recruited to be a lawyer for the CIA, and there's a girl there who he dates for a while. Anyway, and he goes back to her place. She has a room decked out like a TV studio with proper cameras, and she spends her nights and her weekends practicing to be a TV presenter so that when she quits the CIA, she can walk straight into a TV job. And she does this every single night for hours and hours and hours, and she's invested a fortune because there are lots of cameras. That's how you get good, by practicing.
It reminds me, you also said that great example about like that show where they sing. It's not
Ah, I
Dancing with
mean,
the Stars. What is it called?
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You
so
mentioned like people just see you jump into the stage and get famous, but there's more to that.
yeah, you're absolutely right, Gabby. So we all see this, there's this lady, there's a famous well, a Welsh lady I'm thinking of, and she's of a certain age, she's dressed quite plainly, she's quite chubby and doesn't look like a superstar. Anyway, she comes on and she mumbles into the microphone, and you can see the judge is going, oh God, another one, it's not going to work very well. Anyway, the music plays, and she starts singing, and she has one of the most gorgeous voices you have ever heard. I think her name is Susan Boyle. Okay, and you can actually watch her first performance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people go, "Oh my God, her voice is so beautiful." Give her a record contract. She wins it, and she gets a record contract. And think, "Oh my God, isn't she so lucky?" But what they don't know about Susan is that she spent the previous 20, 30, 40 years singing in school choirs, singing in works choirs, doing karaoke competitions when nobody's watching, singing in pubs when people are watching the TV and making a racket, yeah? Doing all the things that every star does, yeah, over years and years and years and years and years. But, people like Susan doing it behind the curtain, unseen. All you saw was the two or three performances on, Britain's Got Talent. Oh my God, isn't she so lucky to have such a voice like that? But you don't see the work. And we've talked about this all kind of round the houses here, Gabby. People don't want to know about the work. They don't want to put the work in. They don't want to do the practice. They just want the walk on stage. Give me a record deal. I'm here. But it don't work like that. You've got to, put the hours in. There's a book, I think it's called something like 10,000 hours, where somebody says that you need 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert at something. I don't think it takes 10,000 hours, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean that's another perspective. Yeah, you can't get attain something if you don't put the work to it. Like as you said, if I want to become like the best known person in operations, well, I have to put the work in. I have to get clients, get more projects. From that, I'll just get more experience. But if I don't get no clients, how am I going to become an expert? So I think the key word here for me is embrace messiness. And I remember having a chat with you a few months ago where it was like, Paul, I don't know if to go this way or this way. And he was like, well, just do it. Because I was so stuck in being perfect. And then I just went in, I did it. And then I was like, wow, like I was just struggling for nothing because then I found out that I don't really like this, but I do like this. So let me go with this. And yeah, it was messy. Like if you research my social media, you'll probably see it's all over the place. But nobody's really gonna take time to research me like that. And if they do, well, it's just the journey that I had to take, right? So yeah, I thank you so much, Paul. I really do
You're
think
welcome.
that we need to embrace the messiness. And as we wrap it up, I feel that we always leave the audience with a lot of work to do on their side. So I always like to do this question. So for founders who know they're mentally stuck, right? They don't have their confidence levels at 100%. I don't think any of us are. That's the reality. But they're making it up as they go, hoping nobody notices, waiting to feel confident before they can act. What permission do you want to give them?
Great question, by the way. It's really simple, Gary. Give yourself permission to screw up. Give yourself permission to do it dirty. Those words like perfectionism and being perfect and being professional, take those words, put them on a piece of paper, scrub them up and throw them in the bin. Yeah? We don't want those words. We want do it messy. We want bootstrapping. We want, getting our hands dirty. We want making mistakes. Because there's two things here.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, if you're documenting your journey, you are providing a how-to and a how-not-to guide for future people that want to do the thing that you're doing. But you're also learning, where does experience come from? How can you gain experience if you don't do the thing?
Mm-hmm.
I know it
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but yeah, people go, oh, how do I get the experience? You get the experience by doing it, not by doing it perfectly, by doing it messy, by doing it right, by making mistakes. And making mistakes make the best stories. Making
Mm-hmm.
mistakes of when you do your TED talk or you get to do your, what's it called, with the graduation speech. You get invited back to your
Mm-hmm.
high school and they say, come and do a graduate. You talk about the mistakes you made and what you learned from them. All of the big names do this. They don't go, hey, folks, I'm perfect, and I just walk straight out of the womb and into this, job as a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, pay me $50,000 billion a minute. No, it never happens. They talk about the time they screwed up. They talk about the messy divorce. They talk about all the things that went wrong, which led to the things going right. So don't be scared. Screw up, mess up, give yourself a mission just to go with it. All the stuff will fall in place over time. And if you really, really get stuck, just ask. ChatGPT is your friend. Now, it's not always accurate, but it will steer you in the right direction. If you don't have anybody human to talk to, there's enough of these LLMs around now that you can go, you know what, I run this kind of business and I'm stuck with this problem. What's the best way of getting out of this problem? And it will give you some ideas. And then you can just run with them and see what happens.
And you also have a custom GPT that people can access if they have the paid membership, right?
Yeah, yeah. The chat GPTs are only available to people with a paid membership that's $20 a month. And the reason being, it's really simple, is that to build a chat GPT, you can only use certain levels of GPT. Okay, and the free version doesn't include those levels. They're hidden behind a paywall. So I'm really happy to give you for free, not even an email required, this GPT, this custom GPT, which will help you get over all of your mindset things, your procrastination things. I've been told it's like talking to me because I've got a few people that are practicing with it right now and using it daily. In fact, it's a great tool. So all you got to do is talk to Gabby and she'll let me know and I'll send the link.
Thank you so much, Paul. Yeah,
You're welcome.
definitely feel free to reach out and we'll get you that information. And Paul, what's the best way to get in touch with you if people want to connect with you?
Carrier pigeon. Get a carrier pigeon, put a little message in it, and just send it, and it will get to me. If you don't have a carrier pigeon, because I know most people don't have carrier pigeons these days, you can reach out to me on social media. Gabby's got my Facebook link, my WhatsApp phone number, all of them basically. And you'll read the show notes here or there or wherever, you'll find them.
And I would definitely just follow you because you have so many like cute memes
I
and that
love
you put
memes.
there
I
that
love
make me
memes.
laugh every day. So feel free to like follow him on Facebook. That's where I mainly see you. So funny. You always make me laugh.
Thank you, Gabby. And just because it's you, I just had a thought. For the first 5 people that get in touch with Gabby, I will give you a half-hour consult completely free, not a sales pitch, not trying to sell you anything, but you come to me with a problem, and in that half hour or so, we will figure out a solution to that problem.
Wow, this is awesome. I would definitely take advantage of this. You have been super helpful. So I definitely recommend you. If someone is struggling with any of these topics, right? You don't know, you don't have someone that to reach out. Connect with Paul. It doesn't hurt, right? Again, taking action. You don't you lose anything by connecting with him. So yeah, feel free to take advantage of this. Paul, again, thank you so much for such a great conversation. I love talking about this topic. Thank you for making time. Uh, yeah, to everyone else who's listening, here's the truth. You don't need confidence to stop being the bottleneck. You need a compelling reason and you need to be willing to mess up in the messy middle. So again, yeah, feel free to connect with Paul and myself. If you need help with anything, we'll try our best. If we're not the best resources, we'll find who to connect you with. And again, remember, you don't have to be the bottleneck. There's a system for everything, including removing the mindset bottleneck that's keeping you stuck. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much, Paul, for
You're
joining
welcome.
us.
Bye,
And
folks.
we'll see you in our next episode.